Okay, good evening all. I welcome you all for this today's session. Okay, now first I will summarize our previous session. In previous session, we have discussed the hardening heat treatment process, how the hardening heat treatment process is done on the steels. In that we have completed conventional hardening, then time interrupted hardening, Mar tempering, and then stamping like this, forming. Different types are there, and some other heat treatment processes like patenting, isoforming, okay, and stamping we have completed. Then we have discussed the tempering heat treatment process, and in that how it is conducted, means its purpose, process, and its subtypes like low temperature, medium temperature, and high temperature tempering. We have completed that part. And after that we have discussed the what is the meaning of retained austenite, then what are the effects of retained austenite on the properties of steel, and how to remove that retained austenite in the different elimination methods. In that we have discussed different elimination methods of retained austenite or untransformed austenite. In that we have discussed three methods: sub-zero treatment, okay, cold treatment or sub-zero treatment, and plastic deformation, and tempering. Okay, so this part we have discussed in previous session. Then in this today's session, okay, in this session, I'm going to discuss the surface hardening or case hardening, and we will try to understand what is the meaning of surface hardening or case hardening. And in this surface hardening or case hardening, we will discuss different types of surface hardening or case hardening. In that we are going to discuss the carburizing method, and then its subtypes like solid, gas, and liquid carburizing. Then nitriding, okay, this is again surface hardening method. Then after nitride with its types, advantages, disadvantages, and some applications. Then carbonitriding along with its types. Then we are going to discuss some few very interesting hardening heat treatment processes like flame hardening along with its subtypes, applications, advantages, disadvantages, and induction hardening along with its working principle. Okay, then its advantages, disadvantages, and applications. Okay, this part we are going to discuss in this today's session. Now in this today's session we will try to complete this all part. We'll try to complete it within 2 hours. Okay, please listen carefully, and wherever you are facing any doubts, please ask me. Okay, now initially we will start with the concept of what is the meaning of surface hardening, or what is the case hardening, or why it is done, or why it is required. Now in many applications, like suppose you are using the components like camshaft, crankshaft, or different types of the gears. Now in these components, crankshaft, camshaft, or gears, we require some properties, okay, in that material. Now what are that properties required? Whenever you are using crankshaft or camshaft, crankshaft, or gears, we require some specific properties of the surface and some specific properties at the core. Core means the center of that component. Okay, so what are that requirements? In these components we require hard and wear resistant surface. Okay, because there will be some friction. Okay, hence we require that whichever surface is there, it should be hard and wear resistant, and whichever tough or center portion of that component is there, it should be tough, means it should sustain with the high impact loads. Now to obtain these kind of properties, it is not possible to obtain all these properties with the same material. Suppose we are using low carbon, we can go for low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, or high carbon steel. If we are using low carbon steels, then we will get the tough core, but to get the hard and wear resistant surface is very difficult with low carbon steels. Then suppose if we are using high carbon steels, then it will be very easy to obtain hard and wear resistant surface. Okay, hard and wear resistant surface can be obtained, but it is very difficult to obtain toughness at the core with the high carbon steels. And medium carbon steel will give the intermediate properties, but it will be not to the optimum level of our requirement, so that we can use it in the practical life, okay, to manufacture these crankshaft, camshafts, or gears. So then what we are going to do here, now here we are going to do some surface hardening. We are going to take the low carbon steels or low carbon, low alloy steels, and we are going to do their surface hardening or surface heat treatment process. Now this surface hardening can be done in two different ways. Okay, how it is done? It can be done in two different ways. The first way is this is broad classification. First way is to do the surface hardening by changing the composition. Okay, by changing the composition. And second way is to do the hardening of the surface without changing the composition of the surface. Okay, now in by changing the composition of the surface, we can do it in three ways. Okay, in three ways. By changing the composition of the surface in three ways, how it is done? We will take the low carbon steel or low carbon alloy steel. This is the first I have marked here. First three, A, B, C, are the ways by changing the composition. Surface hardening by changing the composition. And last D point is without changing the composition. Okay, hardening without of the surface without changing its composition. Now in the first part, by changing the composition, we are going to increase the carbon on the surface of low carbon steel or low carbon low alloy steel, and subsequently it is followed by the heat treatment. Okay, subsequently it is followed by the heat treatment process. Okay, further heat treatment process is required, and it will give you the hard and wear resistant surface and a tough core or tough center. This is the first type in the by changing the composition. Then second type in by changing the composition is introducing the nitrogen on the surface of tough steel. Here also we are going to use the low carbon steel or low carbon low alloy steels, and we are going to introduce the nitrogen on its surface. And so that due to the introduction of nitrogen on the surface, some hard nitrided particles are formed. Okay, due to that, case hardening is done, and it does not require any further heat treatment. Okay, then the third type, in the third type we are changing the composition by introduction of carbon and nitrogen. Okay, both carbon and nitrogen is introduced here on the surface of uh, tough steel. Tough steel, you can say that low carbon steel or low carbon low alloy steel, and subsequently it is followed by the heat treatment process to get the hard and wear resistant surface or case. Okay, means this due to diffusion of this carbon and nitrogen, surface will become hard and wear resistant, and the center part will become tough. That core part will become tough. Okay, so these are the three ways. Means we are introducing just carbon followed by the subsequent heat treatment, or you can go for introduction of nitrogen without any heat treatment, or you can go for introduction of both carbon and nitrogen followed by the yes, or subsequently you have to do the heat treatment process to, and by all these three means we will end up with getting hard and wear resistant surface and very tough core having high toughness. Okay, so these three are the methods where we are changing the composition. And the fourth method is the hardening of the surface without changing the composition. Now, here in all these are the four ways. Now, for each way, we are having some types of heat treatment process. Now increasing the carbon on the surface of low carbon steel or low carbon low alloy steel, followed by the heat treatment process. And in this we are going, this method will be termed as carburizing. Okay, introducing the carbon on the surface of steel. This is termed as carburizing. If you are introducing nitrogen on the surface, then it is termed as nitriding. If we are introducing carbon and nitrogen both on the surface of the steel to get the desired properties, then it is termed as carbonitriding. Okay, for these three ways we are going to discuss the three different surface heat treatment processes: carburizing, nitriding, and carbonitriding, along with their subtypes. And in the surface hardening, without changing the composition, we are going to discuss two different types here: induction hardening and flame hardening. Okay, in this way we are going to discuss these five types of surface hardening or um, surface treatment processes for steels. Okay, carburizing, nitriding, carbonitriding, and flame hardening and induction hardening. Okay, so one by one we will discuss this. We'll start with the carburizing method. What is the meaning of carburizing, how it is done, its classification, and after that we will discuss the applications for each method, some applications, or you have to mention the components name or type of that particular steel. Okay, now this carburizing, it is also termed as a case hardening or case carburizing or cementation method. Okay, all these are named for the same method. Now in this carburizing method, what we are going to do, or what is this carburizing? The method of increasing carbon on the surface of steel is termed as carburizing. Okay, method of introducing carbon on the surface of steel is termed as carburizing. And now how this carbon is introduced on the surface of the steel, how it is introduced? For this we have to follow one process, and that process will be like this. In the same way, we are, as we have learned in the general heat treatment cycle, that is one heating cycle, then holding time, and after that one cooling cycle. Here also the same procedure will be followed with slight changes. Now, and then whichever steel component is there on which we want to perform the carburizing, that steel component is collected and it is heated in the austenitic region. Okay, it is heated in the austenitic region in contact with carburizing medium. Here this is the slight change. While doing the heating of that component, we are heating that by keeping that steel component in contact with the carburizing medium. Which carburizing medium is used, that I have explained in the types. Just try to remember. Carburizing medium means source of the carbon. From that medium we are getting the carbon. Okay, initially we will heat the component in the austenitic region. Okay, in the austenitic region we are heating the steel component in contact with carburizing medium, and holding that component with that carburizing medium at this temperature for a sufficient period of time. Okay, longer period of time we are providing depending on the medium used. This time will be decided. Why this time is provided? So that from we will get the austenite, and the carbon from the carburizing medium will get dissolved in that austenite. As why we are using the austenitic region only? Because carbon has means highest solubility will be there in the austenite phase. Hence we are using the austenitic region, or austenitic zone we have selected for heating. And during this heating we are providing the sufficient holding time here. During this holding time, carbon from the carburizing medium will get diffused in the austenite, and after this diffusion we are cooling it. Okay, cooling it to the room temperature. And means during this cooling you have to follow some heat treatment processes also. Why we are, after that cooling, we are following some heat treatment process. Why this further heat treatment process is necessary? Okay, after this cooling to the room temperature, we are we will get the carbon. Okay, carbon is diffused onto the into the steel, but uh, hardness is not improved. Okay, when carbon is present in the form of martensite, then and then only it will increase the hardness of that particular steel. If that carbon is present in the free form, it does not improve the hardness of the component. It should present in the form of martensite. uh, then and then only we will get the hard and wear resistant surface. And to obtain this, further we are doing one hardening heat treatment process to bring this carbon in the form of martensite. Okay, and to do this hardening can be done in different ways. Okay, by direct quenching, double quenching, or case hardening, or core hardening. How to do this, all four types of hardening methods in carburizing, that I have added one separate slide. After this types explanation, I will explain there. Okay, just remember here, after when carbon diffuses into the steel, we require to perform one hardening heat treatment process to convert that carbon in the martensitic form to get the better hardness. Okay, now depending on the medium used for carburizing, there are three types of the carburizing. Where, suppose you are using the solid uh, medium to get the carbon, then it will be termed as solid carburizing. If the source of the carbon is the gas medium, then it is termed as gas carburizing. If source of the carbon is liquid medium, then it is termed as liquid carburizing. Then what are the source we are using for solid, gas, and liquid carburizing? And what is the holding time, or the heating temperature zone? And what will be the case depth? All this we will discuss in the next slide. And so this is the solid carburizing. This solid carburizing is also termed as pack carburizing or box carburizing. Okay, now how this solid carburizing is conducted. Now in this solid carburizing, what we are doing here, this is the your part to be carburized. This is your part to be carburized. Now in this solid carburizing, what we are doing, the component which is to be carburized, the component, this is the component which is to be carburized, it is packed or it is sealed, it is packed or sealed along with the carbonaceous medium. This is carbonaceous medium here. Okay, this is carbonaceous medium. From this medium we are getting the carbon. Okay, this component on which we want to perform the carburizing, it is sealed in a container along with the carbonaceous medium, and it is sealed, properly sealed by a steel container or cast iron container, and with the help of clay it is sealed. Why the proper sealing is required? If we are not doing the proper sealing, then what will happen, whichever carbonaceous medium is we are using, then that medium will come in contact with the oxygen from the air, and this medium starts burning. Okay, it will start burning. Hence here it is very important to close this carbonaceous medium and component with the help of a steel container or cast iron container. Okay, to avoid the oxidation which results in the burning of this carbonaceous medium. Now for conducting this solid carburizing, the generally used carbonaceous medium is mixture of wood charcoal, coke, and some small amount of sodium carbonate, calcium carbonate, or barium carbonate is added. The generally used composition of this carbonaceous medium in the solid carburizing is like this. You can see here 53 to 55% hardwood charcoal, 30 to 32% coke, and remaining amount of sodium carbonate or calcium carbonate or barium carbonate. This sodium carbonate or calcium carbonate will accelerate the process. Okay, it will accelerate the process. Now, here I have mentioned the carburizing temperature and time. Now the process will be like this. This component on which we want to perform this carburizing is heated along with the carbonaceous medium by keeping them in a sealed container made up of steel or cast iron in a temperature zone of 925 degrees Celsius to 950 degrees Celsius for 6 to 15 hours. This time will vary from component to component depending on its shape and size and the case depth required. Okay, it will vary this carburizing temperature, time, it will vary depending on the case depth required or component shape and size. And after heating, we are providing this holding time and it is then slowly cooled to the room temperature. And further, we are doing the hardening heat treatment on that component, and finally we will get the uh, component with surface hardening or case depth achieved will be generally in solid carburizing. These parameters are used. Suppose we have used this 925 to 950 degrees Celsius carburizing temperature for 6 to 15 hours, we will end up with a result or the surface hardening with case depth of 1 to 2.5 millimeter. Okay. And now, as far as this solid carburizing is concerned, this case depth is non-uniform. Okay, case depth is non-uniform because the diffusion of carbon is non-uniform due to this solid carburizing medium. Now, in this solid carburizing, the case depth depends on carburizing temperature and carburizing time. If carburizing temperature and carburizing time is increased, case depth also increases. And if we decrease the carburizing temperature and carburizing time, then case depth also decreases. But we cannot use more higher temperature ranges because it results in the grain coarsening. Okay, it results in the grain coarsening. Hence, we cannot, or grain coarsening is increased, and decarburization and oxidation is more at higher temperature ranges. Hence, we cannot use more higher temperature zones for heating. This is the generally used temperature range for solid carburizing. This is the carburizing time 6 to 15 hours, and we will end up with getting case depth up to 1 to 2.5 millimeter. Okay, during here the carbon during the heating process and during this holding time, the carbon from this medium will diffuse onto the surface of this component. And how it is diffused, that is explained in the this type of process will occur. Okay, reactions occurring during solid or pack or box carburizing. What will happen? Oxygen from box, it will combine with the carbon from the medium and it will form carbon dioxide. Then barium carbonate. Here we can go for barium carbonate, sodium carbonate, or calcium carbonate. It will decompose, it will form barium oxide and carbon dioxide. And now this carbon dioxide will combine with the carbon from the medium. It will form carbon monoxide, and that carbon monoxide will decompose and give the carbon, and this carbon will get dissolved in the austenite. Okay, in this way this carbon is dissolved. This is the reaction occurring during the solid carburizing. Okay, and it requires further quenching or heat treatment processes that I will explain later. First, I will discuss all three types of carburizing. Then, at the end, I will explain the hardening. Now, in gas carburizing, this is the second type of carburizing method. Here, the component is heated in the austenitic region in presence of carbonaceous mediums and which are gaseous in nature. The generally used carbonaceous mediums are methane, ethane, propane, butane, and these carbonaceous mediums are used with the help of some inert gases like helium, argon, nitrogen, or hydrogen. Okay, this is the generally used carbonaceous medium. Already I have explained methane, ethane, propane, butane. You can go for single medium or in the combination also, along with the carrier gases like helium, or neutral gases like helium, argons are generally used as carbonaceous medium. Now the component is taken and it is heated in this gaseous medium, which will provide you the carbon in the temperature range of 900 degrees Celsius to 925 degrees Celsius for 1 to 2 hours. Okay, for 1 to 2 hours. Then what will happen? These gases, these compounds will decompose and they will give you the carbon, and that carbon is diffused into the austenite or dissolved into the austenite, and then it is followed by further uh, heat treatment process. Okay, it is slowly cooled and then quenching is done. Okay, here it is, after this the further heat treatment process is done, and after doing the heat treatment process, further quenching method, at the end we will get the case depth up to 0.2 to 0.5 millimeter. Okay, now in this carbonaceous medium, in solid carburizing, we have discussed that depending on the carburizing temperature and carburizing time, case depth will be achieved. And here we can get in the same way. Here also case depth depends on carburizing time and temperature, and along with this, the circulation of gas plays important role in the case depth. For that, the proper circulation of these gases with the help of the carrier gases is required. Now, whichever cases are obtained in gas carburizing, uh, they will be thin. In thick, in solid carburizing, you will get the thick cases. Okay, thickness is, depth is more. But in if you want a thin case depth, then you have to go for gas carburizing or liquid carburizing. And whichever case is obtained in gas carburizing, it is more uniform. In solid, it is non-uniform. Here, labor cost is also less if you compare it with the solid carburizing. This type of, okay, these are the means. If you you can do the comparison also, comparison related to the medium. Then its temperature, carburizing temperature, carburizing time is less, case depth obtained is thin, case depths can be obtained, and more uniform case depths can be, cases can be obtained in gas carburizing. So after this we will move towards the third type, that is liquid carburizing. Now this liquid carburizing in the liquid carburizing, here again we are heating the steel component in the carbonaceous medium. Here the carbonaceous medium is a mixture of fused salt baths. Okay, different salt bath mixture is used, and in that component is placed, and that mixture is heated in the austenitic region. For generally it is heated for 30 minutes to 1 hour, half hour to 1 hour it is heated, and after that slow cooling is done, and it is further followed. During this process, diffusion of carbon will occur from carbonaceous medium into the austenite, and it is further followed by the quenching. Now here, in this liquid carburizing, generally used carbonaceous medium is will contain 10% sodium cyanide. Okay, NaCl, 10% sodium cyanide. In addition to this, sodium carbonate, sodium chloride, and some alkaline salts of a barium, calcium, or strontiums are used. So this is the liquid carburizing medium, carbonaceous medium used. The generally used carburizing temperature in liquid carburizing is 900 to 925 degrees Celsius, and carburizing time is 30 minutes to 1 hour, and case depths achieved, very thin cases can be achieved here with very high uniformity and in less time. If you compare gas and liquid, then liquid will, we will get the thin case depths with lesser possible time. Just what is the disadvantage of this liquid carburizing is the sodium cyanide which we are using here as a source, it is highly poisonous in nature. Hence, proper care should be taken for during its handling and its use or its disposal. It's very poisonous. It can be hazardous to your health. Okay, so that you have to take proper care here. Now, how the carbon is separated and how it diffuses in the austenite. For that, in this liquid carburizing reactions are I have highlighted here. Sorry, and these are the reactions in the presence of oxygen. Following reactions will occur in the salt baths. Okay, this NaCN, it is the sodium cyanide. It combines with oxygen. Um, okay, it gives you sodium cyanate. This is sodium cyanate. NaCN, this is sodium cyanide. This is sodium cyanate. Again, the sodium cyanate will decompose and form sodium cyanide, sodium carbonate, and carbon and nitrogen is formed. Okay, and here this carbon will different reactions will be there. This carbon will diffused. This carbon will diffuse. In other way, barium carbonate, other reactions cannot occur here. That is, barium carbonate will combine with the sodium cyanide. It forms the intermediate compound of this barium cyanamide. This is intermediate compound, and it uh, decomposes as it is an intermediate compound and unstable. It rapidly decomposes to give barium cyanamide, and carbon is separated, and this carbon diffuses into the austenite at the high temperatures. Okay, you can write any reaction from these two. This carbon will be diffused. If this reaction is there, then nitrogen also diffuses at some low temperature. If low temperatures are there, this nitrogen may diffuse, but we are using higher temperatures. Nitrogen diffusion does not occur. Okay, then this is the liquid carburizing. Okay, in this way we have discussed three types: solid carburizing, gas carburizing, and liquid carburizing. Out of these three, liquid carburizing is most efficient, as we can get the thin case depths can be achieved with lesser time by taking proper care that sodiums, as we are using sodium cyanide here, uh, should be properly stored, used, and disposal can be properly done, because it is very poisonous in nature. Okay, these are three types of carburizing. Then the heat treatment after carburizing. This is the heat treatment after carburizing. If any doubt is there, please ask me. Please ask me if any doubt is there. Please ask me. Any doubt to this point? Okay. Please reply. Only one or two students are replying me. Please give the answers. If point is clear, you can mention that no doubt, or you can uh, complete the session like this. Okay. Okay, now in the first part of this carburizing, this is the carburizing temperature, high temperature zone we are using. The first part is completed. Now after means in the first part, carbon from carbonaceous medium is dissolved or diffused into the steel, but it is not present in the form of martensite. Now this carbon should be transformed to the martensite in the form of martensite, which should present to give the desired hardness and wear resistant surface. For that, the quenching is required. Okay, for that quenching is required. Then from this carburizing temperature, okay, from this carburizing temperature, that component is collected after sufficient holding or providing sufficient holding time. And the first method is direct quenching. That component is directly collected and it is directly dipped or quenched into the cold water. It is directly quenched into the cold water. And as we are doing the direct quenching, this is the first type, that is direct quenching. At the room temperature, if we check its microstructure, we will find that we will get the martensite, hard martensite will be there on the surface of that component, and we will get the tough or core center due to presence of ferrite. The ferrite will be present at the center and the tough martensite will be there on the surface. Okay, but when we are getting these properties, these are the desired properties. By direct quenching we will get these properties, but there is one condition. If the austenite which is present at this carburizing temperature in this heating zone is fine, okay, depending on this austenite we will get the final structure after quenching. If this austenite is fine, then we will end up with the fine martensite at the surface, which will provide you desired hardness and wear resistance. And at the center, fine ferrite will be there, which will provide you the toughness at the core or toughness at the center. But suppose if the austenite present at this austenitic region is coarse, if it is coarse, then after the direct quenching, what will happen? Martensite formed at the surface or on the surface of that steel component, it will be coarse martensite, and that coarse martensite will be very brittle in nature. Instead of providing the strength and hardness or high wear resistant surface, with very light shock, that material will get breaked. Okay, and again, if this austenite at this carburizing temperature is coarse, then at the center, whichever ferrite is there, it is again coarse, means desired toughness is also not achieved. Desired toughness is also not achieved. Hence, if the austenite is fine at that carburizing temperature region, then we will get the desired hard and wear resistant surface and a tough core by direct quenching. And if it is not the case, then we have to use the other methods like double quenching, case refining, or core refining. Okay, so this is the direct quenching method which is used in the carb after the carburizing. Okay, and then the next method or next type of quenching is the second. Here you can see the number two. This is the double quenching. What happens in this double quenching? Now in this, from carburizing temperature, from this region, the component, that steel component, is slowly cooled to the room temperature. It is slowly cooled, and again it is heated above upper critical temperature, that is above this A3 temperature line. Okay, above this A3 we are heating it above upper critical temperature. And during this heating above this upper critical temperature, what will happen? After here also, after heating it, we are providing sufficient holding time, and then we are cooling it. Then we are cooling it, and during this process, what will happen? The case refinement will occur, means uh, we are suddenly or directly quenching it. Fast cooling we are doing. Slowly, initially slowly cooled, then heated above the upper critical temperature, that is above A3 temperature, and some holding time is provided. After that, it is directly quenched, and we will get the hard and wear resistant case or surface. And after that, it is again heated, but this time we are heating above lower critical temperature, that is A1. Above this A1 temperature line we are heating, and some holding time is provided, sufficient holding time is provided, and then it is slowly cooled. Here we are doing the slow cooling, and during this we will end up with the tough core or exactly at the core, ferrite will be there. Exactly at the core, ferrite will be there, and which will improve the toughness or ductility at the center. And in this case, in this first part, what will happen here, due to the fast quenching, we will get the martensite on the surface. Okay, so this is the double quenching method. In this way, we are doing the double quenching. And then the third type of quenching, which we are using as a heat treatment after carburizing, is case refining. In this case refining, the from after carburizing, we are collecting that component and it is directly quenched, okay, directly quenched in the water, that is rapidly cooled. And then again it is heated above lower critical temperature. Okay, above lower critical temperature. And what we are doing here, okay, here above lower critical temperature we are heating, it is above even temperature, it is heated, and then it is cooled, and then it is cooled, and we will end up with the hard and wear resistant surface. This will be termed as case refining. Then again in the fourth, just core refining is done. Okay, from fourth point, means component is collected, slowly cooled to the room temperature, it is heated again above upper critical temperature, it is above A3, and then it is slowly cooled, again it is slowly cooled. And during this, what will happen, we will end up with the ferrite at the center, and it will improve the toughness at the center. Okay, so in this way, by using different cooling rates and different heating zones, we can do the quenching. Okay, after performing the carburizing, heat treatment process, quenching heat treatment process is required. That can be done in four ways, that is direct quenching or double quenching, and we or case refining and core refining. These, in these four types or in these four ways, we can do the heat treatment after carburizing, and it is very necessary to get the hard and core resistant surface, uh, where marten carbon is present in the form of martensite, and exactly at the center or at the core, toughness should be there so that it can withstand the high loading conditions. Okay, so in this way, carburizing method is completed. If any doubt is there related to the carburizing, please ask. Otherwise, I will start the any doubt in carburizing or its types. Doubts in any doubt you can ask. Okay, in carburizing and further followed by some heat treatment methods. Okay, please reply if no doubt is there. We'll move towards next type. Okay, now next type of heat treatment process. Okay, next type is okay. Before going for this nitriding in next type, I will show you some applications where this carburizing is done on different components. You have to write few names. On crane wheels, support bracket for agricultural tractors, crankshaft, camshaft, gears, flywheels, railway wheels, gear tooth profiles, crane cable drums, then hydraulic clutches. Okay, all this component requires hard and wear resistant surface and tough core to withstand the loading condition. Here on these components, we can perform the carburizing. Okay, this is the application. Then nitriding heat treatment process. How this nitriding is conducted. Now, nitriding means introducing the nitrogen on the surface of steel, okay, by heating it in the presence of some atomic nitrogen medium. From that atomic nitrogen medium, nitrogen will get diffused into the steel and it forms its respective compounds, its respective nitrites of iron or nitrites of other alloying elements, and it improves the hardness and wear resistance of the surface. Okay. Now here in this nitriding, we can use two different mediums, or this nitriding is done in a temperature zone below A1 temperature. We are doing this nitriding. Above that, the diffusion of nitrogen does not occur. Okay. Now the atomic nitrogen mediums generally used are molten salt baths containing sodium cyanide about 10%, then sodium carbonate, sodium chloride, and the other medium is gaseous medium, that is ammonia gas. You can use different mediums to get the atomic nitrogen. Now how the nitriding process is conducted? The component on which we want to perform the nitriding, it is heated in this atomic nitrogen medium. It may be different mixture of different salt baths or some gas medium. It is heated in a temperature zone of 500 degrees Celsius to 550 degrees Celsius. And after that, we are providing some holding time of 24 hours to 72 hours. This holding time may vary, or this nitriding time may vary depending on shape, size, and composition of the component. And after providing sufficient time, it is slowly cool to the room temperature. Now, during this nitriding time, what will happen? Nitrogen from that medium, atomic nitrogen, will get diffused onto the surface of that steel component, and the hardness, we will get a hard and wear resistant surface. Okay. Generally, we are performing this nitriding process on low carbon steel or low carbon, low alloy steels. Okay, because we are having toughness at the core and just we are improving the properties of the surface. And after nitriding, we will get the uniform case depth, and thin case depth can also be achieved. Generally, we can obtain 0.25 mm to 0.5 millimeter case depth by this nitriding method. Okay, in this nitriding method, generally we can get the case depth of 0.25 to 0.5 millimeter. Okay, now proper care should be taken here that the sodium cyanide is very poisonous if we are using the salt bath mixture. For proper care should be taken for its storage, use, and disposal. Okay, now this nitriding has two types, liquid nitriding and gas nitriding, depending on the medium used. If the medium used for this nitriding is salt bath mixture, then it is liquid nitriding, and if medium used is ammonia gas, then it is gas nitriding. Generally, in liquid nitriding, the salt bath mixture will consist of 10% sodium cyanide, remaining amount of sodium carbonate and sodium chloride. Now, in this reaction will take place, which is visible on this slide. This sodium cyanide combined with the oxygen and it forms sodium cyanate, NaCNO. This sodium cyanide will again decompose to form sodium cyanide, sodium carbonate, carbon, and nitrogen. Okay, this carbon and nitrogen, this nitrogen will diffuse. Okay, why carbon diffusion does not occur here? Because temperature range is less, 500 to 550 degrees Celsius. Only this atomic nitrogen will get diffused into the steel. Okay, and it will improve the hardness, and this nitrogen directly, when atomic nitrogen will provide you the required hardness and wear resistant surface. Hence, further heat treatment process is not required after nitriding. Okay, in carburizing, further heat treatment process is required to convert that carbon in the form of martensite. Then we can use, or this nitriding can be performed by using In the gaseous medium like ammonia gas, that nitriding will be termed as gas nitriding. In this gas nitriding, following reaction will occur, that ammonia gas will decompose to produce hydrogen and atomic nitrogen. And this atomic nitrogen will diffuse into the steel or onto the surface of the steel, and it will give you the hard and wear resistant steel surface. Okay, and then after this, where we are going to perform, on which material we can do the nitriding. Now here two different materials are there and the conditions are there. On plain carbon steel we cannot perform the nitriding. This is the disadvantage. You can write this as a disadvantage also. And what is the advantage of this nitriding? We can perform the nitriding on alloy steels. Then why we cannot perform, we are not able to perform nitriding on the plain carbon steels, and why it is possible to perform nitriding on the alloy steel? There are some reasons. First we will discuss why we are not able to perform this nitriding on the plain carbon steel. Okay, question will be like this: plain carbon steels cannot be nitrided because after nitriding process the atomic nitrogen diffuses into the steel. Okay, and it forms, or this atomic nitrogen reacts with the iron present. Okay, iron present in that steel, and it forms iron nitride. In plain carbon steel only iron nitride formation takes place, and one white layer is formed on the surface. And this iron nitride layer is extremely hard and brittle in nature, and due to this, during the service life crack formation will occur, and that component may get failed during the service life. But hence we cannot do the nitriding of plain carbon steels, but we can do the nitriding of alloy steels. Why it is possible? When the nitriding process occurs, atomic nitrogen diffuses into the alloy steel. Then that diffused atomic nitrogen combines with the alloying elements like aluminium, chromium. Okay, aluminium, chromium, molybdenum, vanadium, tungsten, manganese. Different alloying elements are there. That atomic diffused atomic nitrogen combines with the other alloying elements and forms their respective nitrides. And these nitrides, okay, these nitrides at the room temperature, they will present in the form of needle shape. Okay, these nitrides are, these alloy nitrides will be needle shaped. Okay, and they will be present in the ferrite, and this ferrite will provide you the toughness required at the center, and these nitride alloy nitrides will give you the uh, required hardness and wear resistant surface. Okay, brittleness is decreased due to presence of ferrite in case of alloy steels, but in case of plain carbon steel only iron nitride will be formed as alloying elements are absent, and it will form a white layer which is extremely hard and brittle. Okay, so crack will form. Hence the nitriding can be performed only on the alloy steels. We cannot perform the nitriding process on plain carbon steels. Then we will move towards some advantages and disadvantages. Now this is the advantages. Already we have discussed that it does not require, after nitriding, further heat treatment process is not required, as it is required in the carburizing process. Hence the distortion is also minimum, and this nitriding can be applied in the machining parts where we require very close dimensional tolerances like precision gears, boring bars, forming rolls for the papers and rubbers, and forming dies, then camshafts, crankshafts, cylinder liners, bushings. Then nitrided components will show you better corrosion resistance and better fatigue life due to presence of that respective alloyed nitrides, better corrosion resistance and fatigue life. Then coefficient of friction is also less. Then high resistance for welding and seizing due to that better bearing properties. Okay, then nitrided cases have higher corrosion resistance. Already I have discussed this. Then carburized component, carburized and carburized plus hardened components or cases, better corrosion resistance and fatigue life. Okay, Distortion is also less in this. Then what are the disadvantages? Already one disadvantage we have discussed. This plain carbon steels cannot be nitrided, only alloy steels can be nitrided, and that alloy steels on which we can perform the nitriding, these are termed as nitra alloys. Okay, nitra alloys, alloy steels on which we can perform the nitriding operation. Now, in case the very thin case depths are obtained less than 0.5 millimeter, this is again disadvantage. Then one thin white layer will be formed on the surface, and we have to remove that thin white layer of iron nitride because it increases the brittleness. And for removing that layer, we require some finishing operations, okay, like lapping operation, and which is very costly. The no heat treatment. This is advantage and disadvantage also. Means we cannot perform any heat treatment after nitriding. Hence, whichever change in the properties are required in the core or center, that you have to do before nitriding only. You first correct the core properties and then go for the nitriding operation. So these are the disadvantage of nitriding process. Then the next is the carbonate. Okay, applications. Already I have mentioned some names on this component. We can perform the nitriding. Precision gears, boring bars, forming rolls of the papers and rubbers, forming dies, crankshaft, cylinder liners, and bushings, etc. Okay. So in this way, we have completed this nitriding also. If any doubt is there in nitriding heat treatment process, please ask me. If any doubt is there in this nitriding heat treatment process, please ask me. Let me know if any doubt is there. All points are clear. Please mention that in the chat box. Okay, then please give me a reply. Okay, other student also please provide reply. Okay. Now, thank you for your replies. If all points are clear, now I will move towards the next type, that is the carbonitriding. Okay. Now, if you have understood the carburizing and carbonitriding is very simple because it is combination of carburizing and nitriding. Okay, this carbo stands for carburizing, and this is the nitriding, hence it is termed as carbonitriding. Okay, in this carbonitriding, we are introducing carbon and nitrogen both on the surface of the steel, and as the carbon is present in the form of it should be present in the form of martensite to get the desired hardness, the subsequent heat treatment is done. Okay, heat treatment is also necessary here. Now, in the carbonitriding, the different sources can be used. Here we have to use two sources simultaneously. You can say that for the one carbonaceous medium where we can get the carbon, and the atomic nitrogen medium source for atomic nitrogen we have to use. And for this we can use two different mediums. The first medium is a mixture of different salt baths, Okay, in nitriding, we discussed that we are using 10% sodium cyanide, but here we are using the salt bath mixtures with 20 to 30% sodium cyanide along with sodium carbonate and sodium chloride. Okay, so this is the first mixture where we are using liquid molten salt bath, that is the liquid medium, and we can use the gaseous medium where the methane or ethane gases, that is gases for getting the carbon, that is carbonaceous gases medium, along with the 5 to 10% ammonia gas can be used to get the atomic nitrogen. Now here the heating temperature zone lies just above A1 and below A3. Now why we are not using just below A1? Because if we are using just below A1, then diffusion of carbon does not take place. Okay, and if we go for above A3 temperature, then diffusion or that carbon nitrogen diffusion will not occur. Hence the temperature zone for performing the carbonitriding is in between A1 and A3, and generally used temperature range for carbonitriding is 750 degrees Celsius to 850 degrees Celsius, and time given for this carbonitriding is less than 1 hour, and very thin case depths can be achieved in this carbonitriding within the range 0.075 mm to 0.25 mm. And this carbonitrided in the carbonitriding we require to do the quenching, and here the direct quenching in the oil or water medium is done. Okay, how this carbonitriding process will be done? Component is taken, then it is heated in the medium, in contact with the medium, which will give you carbon and nitrogen both, and some holding time is provided, and the heating temperature range is 750 to 850, and holding time is less than 1 hour, and after that it is quenched. Okay, it is quenched into the oil or water. Due to this, what will happen? Diffusion of carbon and atomic nitrogen both will take place, and that carbon will present in the form of martensite on the surface, and that nitrogen will combine with the iron and other alloying elements, and it will form its respective nitrides, and due to the presence of that nitrides, the hardness of the surface will get increase, or we will get the hard and wear resistant surface. So this is the carbonitriding, and this carbonitriding can be classified in two different types depending on the mediums used, as liquid carbonitriding. When the carbonitriding where we are using the molten salt baths mixtures, for example, suppose 20 to 30% sodium cyanide, then sodium carbonate and sodium chloride, then this type of carbonitriding is termed as liquid carbonitriding, or it is also termed as cyaniding or cyanide hardening. Okay, temperature zone will be uh, 750 to 850, and time required will be 1 hour to 2 hour. Okay, sometimes less than 1 hour depending on the shape and size of that component. Suppose the medium used for conducting this carbonitriding is mixture of 5 to 10% ammonia gas and the carbonaceous gases medium like methane or ethane, then this carbonitriding will be termed as gas carbonitriding, or it is also known as dry cyaniding or gas cyaniding, dry or gas cyaniding, or nitrocarburizing, or simply nicarbing. Different names are here. Please try to remember these names depending on the medium used. Here again, the temperature zone is 750 to 850 degrees Celsius. Time will be less than 1 hour, and case depth, very thin case depths can be achieved with high uniformity by this carbonitriding. Okay? Case depths can be achieved up to 0.0 Okay, 0.075 mm to 0.25 mm in this carbonitriding. Okay, in this way, these are two types of carbonitriding: liquid carbonitriding and gas carbonitriding. If you are having any doubts in this carbonitriding, you can ask. Just this carbonitriding is just the combination of carburizing and nitriding. Okay, now okay, in this way we have completed this three surface hardening methods: carburizing, nitriding, and carbonitriding. In these three methods we are changing the composition of the surface by introducing the carbon or nitrogen, or carbon and nitrogen both. Okay, there are few surface hardening treatments where we are not changing the composition of the surface. Okay, we are not changing the composition, we are just providing the heating in a specific temperature zone, and after that we are performing some quenching operations to get the desired hardness, hard and wear resistant surface. That will be termed as hardening, surface hardening without changing the composition. And in that, number of types are there, but in your syllabus two types are included, that is flame hardening and induction hardening. How this flame hardening is conducted and how this induction hardening is conducted, that we will discuss. Okay, this is the flame hardening. Please let me know whether any doubt is nitriding and carbonitriding. Okay, now these two types are last two types from this heat treatment of steel chapter. After that, this chapter will be completed. This fourth chapter will be finished today only. Now this is the flame hardening. What is the flame hardening and induction hardening, along with their advantages, disadvantages, and applications we'll discuss. The flame hardening, it is flame hardening, it is the process of heating the surface. Okay, here what we are doing, with the help of one oxyacetylene flame, we are heating the surface of the steel which we want to harden to above upper critical temperature, above its upper critical temperature. It may be above A3 or above ACM depending on the type of steel. And after heating it with the help of oxyacetylene flame, it is directly quenched so that that austenite will be formed, converted into martensite. Okay, I will repeat it again. Flame hardening, it is a process of heating the surface layers of hardenable steel to above its upper critical temperature by using the oxyacetylene flame, followed by using oxyacetylene flame followed by water spray quenching, or the here we will do the water spray quenching is done in different way by spraying or directly dipping that component into the water. Okay, and we will end up with whichever austenite is formed at this higher temperature zone with the help due to the heating by this oxyacetylene flame. That austenite, due to the rapid quenching, will get converted to the martensite, and we will get the hard and wear resistant surface. Now uh, I will explain this with the help of, okay, this is the principle of the flame hardening. Here this is the workpiece. This is the workpiece. Okay, with the oxyacetylene flame, the surface, okay, with the oxyacetylene flame, this is the oxyacetylene flame, the surface is heated above its upper critical temperature, and after heating it is quenched with the water by spraying or by directly immersing this component into the water. This will get hardened. Why this hardening is happening? Due to high temperature heating above the upper critical temperature we are heating it, then there will be austenite formation will be there, and due to sudden quenching, that austenite will get formed to transport to the martensite, and that martensite will give you the hard and wear resistant surface. And then this is the working principle. Now this quenching can be done in different ways by immersing that component in the water, or directly by using the water, spraying the water on the heated surface. We can do the different methods. Now, depending on the movement of the that heating torch, or the cooling device, or the movement of the workpiece on which we are doing the hardening, this flame hardening is classified in four different types, as a spot flame hardening, progressive flame hardening, spinning flame hardening, and progressive spinning flame hardening, which is also known as combination method. Then what is the spot flame hardening? In the spot flame hardening, suppose this is the workpiece, a specific spot of that workpiece or the steel component is heated to above the upper critical temperature, and after sufficient heating, uh, the water is sprayed on that spot, or that component is directly deep into the water, means quenching is done, and in this way that spot is hardened. This will be termed as spot flame hardening. A particular spot or a local area is heated with oxyacetylene flame, and it is cooled with the cooling medium, or by spraying the water on it. This will be termed as spot flame hardening. Then progressive flame hardening. Okay, this is the progressive flame hardening. Here we can see, in this progressive flame hardening, your job or workpiece is stationary or fixed, and there is one arrangement which contains the flame, oxyacetylene flame, and the cooling medium or coolant, and it is moved. Okay, flame is moved, means initially we are doing the heating, and the simultaneously we are doing the cooling also. Then what will happen here, as we are heating that component or that workpiece above the upper critical temperature, its upper critical temperature, that is above A3 or above ACM, austenite will be there, and after sufficient heating, directly we are quenching it with the help of water. Then martensite, that austenite will get transferred to the martensite, and hardening of that surface is done. Okay, so in this case, this is progressive flame hardening, where job is fixed, and by using one arrangement, that flame and coolant is in progressive way, or it is moved onto that workpiece to get the surface hardened layer. This is progressive flame hardening. Then the next type, third type, is spinning flame hardening. In this spinning flame hardening, here the workpiece is rotating. Okay, flame will be constant, and workpiece flame will constant, and workpiece will rotate. Workpiece will rotate, and during this rotation, with the help of that flame, that particular area is heated above the upper critical temperature, and that is above A3 or above ACM, depending on the type of the steel. And after sufficient heating, uh, that workpiece in the rotating way, and after that we are spraying the water with the help of one cooling device. This is the spinning flame hardening, where workpiece is rotating, and other flame will be stationary, and cooling device will be stationary. Then the fourth type of this flame hardening is progressive spinning flame hardening. This progressive spinning flame hardening, it is also termed as a combination method. Here, the combination of two flame hardening types, that is progressive and spinning flame hardening, is used. Means how it is done? Here, workpiece is rotating, workpiece is in a rotating condition, and the arrangement consisting of one flame and cooling device, they will move, or they will be in the uh, progressive phase. Okay, means simultaneously that workpiece is spinning or rotating, and simultaneously heating is done on that rotating device, and cooling is also done. I will show you the diagram. You can see here. Okay, this is the progressive spinning flame hardening. This workpiece is rotating, and this is the flame and coolant. We are moving in this direction, means simultaneously heating is done, and after heating it will move in the forward direction, and whichever heated part is there, it will be hardened by this coolant. This is progressive spinning flame hardening. Okay, workpiece is rotating, and the arrangement of a rotating or spinning workpiece, and flame and the coolant is in progressive way. This will be progressive spinning flame hardening. Okay, these are the four types of this flame hardening. Now, whichever case depth is obtained in this flame hardening, that case depth depends on four parameters, and that four parameters are like this: distance between the gas flame, that distance between that oxyacetylene gas flame and the component surface, then whichever gas pressures, whichever gas we are using, its pressures and their ratios, and then the travel speed of that flame, travel speed of the flame, or travel speed of the rotating speed of that workpiece. Depending on that, we will get the case depth. And another important aspect is whichever quenching medium we are using, type of that quenching medium, then its volume, and application method, whether we are spraying it or whether we are using the immersion technique. Depending on this technique, we will get the case depth of the hardened layer, or that whichever sorry, whichever hardening is done of the surface, that case depth depend on these four parameters. Now, related to the application point of view, the steels containing 0.4 to 0.7% carbon are most suitable for this flame hardening. This medium carbon steel, you can do the flame hardening. And what care you have to take here during this flame hardening, as we are doing the heating in the very high temperature zone and suddenly quenching it in the water, uh, very high amount of internal stresses or residual stresses will get created. Okay, so some tempering heat treatment process is required. Okay, after the means after doing the flame hardening, the component should be tempered at low temperatures, that is from 100 to 200 degrees Celsius temperature zone, to relieve the internal stresses. Okay, it is very important. The further heat treatment, tempering heat treatment process is required. And what are the advantages? There are some advantages of this flame hardening. Very less distortion if you compare. Distortion or cracking is very less if you compare it with the conventional hardening. Then heating rate is very high, and amount of decarburization, it is loss of carbon or oxidation, is very minimum or very less. The cleanliness of the working conditions are very high, and consumption of energy is very less if you compare it with the conventional hardening. Then the finishing operation, only a light final grinding finishing operation is required. What are the disadvantages of flame hardening? If component is having irregular shape or complex shape, then we cannot do the proper heating of that component with the help of that oxyacetylene flame. This is the disadvantage. And as far as economical aspect is concerned, uh, this method cannot be used for small scale production. This is uneconomical or not economical for small scale production. Okay, we cannot use it for irregular shape or complex shape components, and it is very helpful only used for mass scale. Then only it is economical, otherwise it is very uneconomical method. In flame hardening, applications of flame hardening can be done on lathe bed guideways, gear teeth, spindles, different worms, wall stems, different kinds of shafts, mill rolls. and different kinds of pulleys and open end wrenches. Okay, these are the applications of flame hardening. Then the next type is the induction hardening. Okay, this is the last point from this chapter, induction hardening. Now, in this induction hardening process, okay, if you are having any doubt in the flame hardening, please let me know. I will take your queries. If you are having any doubts, please let me know. I will resolve it. Okay, if no doubt is there, I will move towards the induction hardening. Now, this induction hardening process. Here also we are doing the heating of the surface layers. Okay, this process increases the surface hardness by heating and quenching the surface layers of the hardenable steel component. Okay, now how here just we are changing the heating source or heating medium. Heating is done within the thin layer of the surface of that metal by using high frequency induced currents. Okay, high frequency induced currents we are using. The component is heated by means of inductor coils or heating coils, which consists of one or more several turns of water cooled copper tubes. I will show you the diagram so that you will get better understanding. A component is heated by heating coil or inductor coils, and that coil consists of several turns of water cooled copper tubes also. And then the high frequency alternating current is flowing through inductor, which generates the alternating magnetic field. And this, due to this high frequency alternating current, high alternating magnetic field is developed, and due to that ED currents are generated, and that these ED currents will flow through the surfaces by skin effect, and surfaces are heated within few minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. Surface is heated. The frequency used of alternating current is 1000 hertz to 1 lakh hertz. Time required holding time is 2 to 5 minutes, and after cooling or quenching, the case depth obtained here is up to 0.5 to 6 millimeter. And here also, in the same way as in the flame hardening, we have done the tempering. Flame hardening is followed by the tempering at approximately 150 to 200 degrees Celsius. Similarly, here in the induction hardening is also followed by low temperature tempering at 160 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius to eliminate the internal stresses caused due to the sudden quenching from high temperatures. Okay, I will explain the principle again with the help of this diagram. Okay, this is the workpiece, principle of induction heating. This is the workpiece. Around this workpiece, this induction coil is wrapped or surrounded. This is coil. Okay. Now through this coil, here also you can see the high frequency generator. It will generate high frequency alternating current, and it will be passed through that inductor coils. High frequency alternating current will be passed through this inductor coils, and due to this, the magnetic field, high frequency alternating magnetic field is generated here. Due to this magnetic field, what will happen? ED currents will start flowing through this component. Due to skin effect, ED currents will start flowing through this component, and layer by layer heating will occur. This is the skin effect. Okay, high frequency alternating Okay, high frequency alternating currents are passed, okay, from generator. Here you can get here from this high frequency generator. High frequency alternating current is generated and it is passed through the coil. This coil, inductor coil, contains the copper tubes through which coolant is flowing. Due to this high frequency alternating current flowing through this inductor coil, which is surrounded around the job or workpiece or the component, magnetic field is created. Okay, due to this magnetic field, ED currents are generated, and that ED currents will flow through this workpiece. Okay, and heating of that workpiece is done due to the skin effect. And generally used frequency of alternating current is 1000 hertz to 1 lakh hertz, and heating time is very less, that is 2 to 5 minutes, and the case depth achieved is 0.5 millimeter to 6 millimeter. Okay, as and after this sufficient heating, directly that component is collected and it is quenched in the water by immersion technique. And here we will get, after the quenching, that austenite will get transformed to the martensite, and hard and wear resistant surface is obtained. But as this rapid quenching is done, due to the rapid changes, the internal stresses will be there, or residual stresses will be there. So it requires further low temperature tempering in the temperature zone 160 to 200 degrees Celsius to eliminate that internal stresses. And after eliminating that internal stresses, we will get the hard and wear resistant surface and tough core as per our requirement. So these are the advantages of induction hardening. That is very fast heating is obtained within 2 to 5 minutes. Heating is completed, as there is no very minimum holding time. Production rate is very high in this induction hardening method. Then very less distortion as compared to the conventional hardening methods, and no scaling or oxidation, decarbonization is very less or very minimum. Then easily we can control the depth of hardening by controlling the frequency of alternating current. Then cleanliness of working condition is at very high levels. Then the energy consumption is very low if you compare the other conventional hardening and treatment processes. And finishing operation, very light grinding final finishing operation is required after hardening. What is the disadvantage of this method? Induction hardening cannot be done if that component is having irregular shape or it is having complex shape. We cannot do the induction hardening on it. And if we are using this induction hardening on mass scale, for mass scale production only, then and then only it is economical. Otherwise, it is uneconomical method. And then related to the applications of this induction hardening, you can do the induction hardening of crankshafts, camshafts, gears, axles, rolls of rolling mills, boring bars, brake drums, overhead traveling crane wheels. Okay, the other list is here. On these components, we can perform the induction hardening: gears, axle, spindles, pinions, guideways, camshafts, tilting levers, okay, piston rods, gudgeon pins, tailstock sleeves, cams, crankshafts, spur gears, worm wheels, locking pins, simple pins, spur gears, helical gears, from shafts, flat surfaces. Okay, we have completed this part. Okay, I will repeat this again. If you are getting confused, this is your job. It is surrounded with the inductor coils, and that inductor coils has copper tubes through which coolant is flowing. Okay, this is the inductor. This is high frequency generator. High frequency alternating current will be generated through this high frequency generator, and it is passed through that inductor coil. High frequency alternating current will flow through this inductor coil. Due to that, magnetic field is generated. Okay, and due to this magnetic field, ED currents are induced, and that ED currents will flow through this workpiece layer by layer due to skin effect, and heating will occur. and this heating is done up to a very high temperature zone above upper critical temperature of that steel. It may be above A3 or ACM depending on whether it is hypoeutectoid or hypereutectoid. Then it is quenched into the water, hence alternative will transfer to the martensite. And after this, some internal stresses may be there. To eliminate that, low temperature tempering is done in the temperature zone 160 to 200 degrees Celsius. And, and you can control the case depth by controlling the frequency of alternating current. Okay, so in this way, this induction hardening is done, and in this way, we have completed this chapter, heat treatment of the steels. In this today's session, I have completed. In this last session, I have completed surface hardening. Okay. Before I will summarize it, but before that, if you are having any query, please mention that in the chat box. Okay, this chapter is completed now. Heat treatment of steels. If any doubt or any query is there, please ask me. If any doubt is there in surface hardening, okay. If any doubt is there, please let me know. Other students, please give me reply. Only one or two students are giving me replies. Other students, please reply fast so that I can summarize this session and I will stop this session. Okay, I will summarize it now. In this today's session, we have completed surface or case hardening. Now, as all we know that we in some components like crankshaft, camshaft, or gears, we require hard and wear resistant surface and tough core. To obtain this, we can do this by increasing the carbon on the surface, followed by heat treatment, by increasing nitrogen on the surface, or without any heat treatment, or by introducing carbon and nitrogen both on the surface, followed by some heat treatment process. And these three methods are the methods by changing the composition of the surface, or without changing the composition also we can do it by doing the flame hardening and induction hardening. Now with changing the composition, first method is carburizing. And yes, carburizing, it is also known as case carburizing or cementation. This is method of introducing the carbon on the steels. This termed as carburizing, and it can be done in three ways: solid, gas, and liquid carburizing. We have discussed all this with their medium, carburizing temperature, carburizing time, and case depth obtained for solid carburizing. And then for gas carburizing and liquid carburizing, along with their case depths, along with their basic advantages and reactions occurring. And as carburizing requires quenching, four types of quenching are required after carburizing, like depending on the type of that steel, like direct quenching, double quenching, and case refining or core refining. We can do it. Then these are the applications of carburizing. We can do the carburizing on crane wheel and support bracket for agricultural tractor, crankshafts, gears, camshaft, flywheels, railway wheels. Like this number of applications are there. The nitriding, introducing the atomic nitrogen on the surface, and which will combine with the iron or other alloying element to form its respective nitrides, and to give the hard and wear resistant surface. without any further heat treatment. And we can use different mediums here. The nitriding, we have discussed nitriding temperature, time, and nitriding case depths, along with some precautionary measures, and two types of nitriding, liquid and gas nitriding. And then we have discussed that why we cannot do the nitriding on plain carbon steels, and why we can do the nitriding only on alloy steels. We have discussed the reasons. Then we have discussed the some advantages and disadvantages of the nitriding along with their applications. Okay, applications you can write the same for carbonitriding and nitriding, same applications you can write. In carbonitriding, it just the here we are introducing carbon and nitrogen both on the surface of that steel, followed by subsequent heat treatment. It is just a combination of carburizing and nitriding. Here we have discussed this carbonitriding along with the parameters like carbonitriding temperature, carbonitriding time, and the case depths achieved. And depending on the mediums used, carbonitriding has two types, liquid carbonitriding and gas carbonitriding. Then we have discussed the flame hardening. This is without changing the composition of the surface. We can do the hardening with the help of this flame hardening. Just with the acetylene flame, that steel component is heated above a critical temperature and it is directly quenched in the water by water spraying or immersion technique to transform austenite to martensite. Then, depending on the movement of workpiece or job and a heating device or cooling device, it is classified in four different types. That's spot flame hardening, progressive flame hardening, spinning flame hardening, and progressive spinning flame hardening, which is also known as combination method. This principal diagram. Then the factors affecting the case depth of flame hardening. Then the applications where it is used for medium carbon steel containing 0.4 to 0.7% carbon, and subsequent heat treatment, low temperature tempering is required to eliminate internal stresses. So, along with its advantages, disadvantages, and applications, we have discussed flame hardening. In induction hardening, we have discussed its working principle, how the component is heated with the help of high frequency alternating current, with the help of inductor coils, and how the component is heated due to skin effect and by the eddy currents. Then its advantages, disadvantages, and applications we have discussed for induction hardening. In this way, this whole chapter, that is heat treatment of steel, is completed. If you have any difficulty, you can ask me. In the next session, I will start the introduction of to the powder metallurgy chapter. Okay, as in the practicals already from the destructive and non-destructive testing method, I have discussed the hardness testing, tensile testing, and impact testing. Okay, and tomorrow we are going to conduct practical on non-destructive testing methods like dye penetrant testing or liquid penetrant testing. So first I will finish the powder metallurgy chapter and then we will discuss the destructive and non-destructive testing methods. Okay, now the total 4 chapters we have completed. This heat treatment process covers the 60% or 70% from second section, and this is a very important chapter. Please go through it. This is very important chapter from second section. 60 to 70% questions will be from this chapter only. Okay, so this is very important chapter. If you are having any difficulty, you can ask me through. You can ask me now, or you can ask me later by any way which is comfortable for you. Okay, so now you can put the attendance roll number in your chat box for attendance, and you can leave this session. And I will share whichever assignment links are remaining. I will share the assignment links for the third and fourth chapter. I will share the fourth chapter questions and assignment links also. Okay, you can upload the third and fourth assignment together. Okay, only 4 assignments I am going. Okay, I will provide you the questions. Very few questions I will give. Okay, please mention your roll numbers in the chat box for attendance purpose. And you can leave the session. We have completed this chapter, treatment of steels. Tomorrow we'll start the Introduction to the powder metallurgy. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for attending this session. Thank you very much for attending this session. I'll stop here.